Well, it's getting more and more real by the day. Millions upon millions of Americans are sitting around dealing with this current inflation, dealing with the current recession that we're not officially in yet. As Senator Bernie Sanders as well as Senator Elizabeth Warren are pushing for an additional $2,400 per year for Social Security recipients. And this could be a real thing. Now, their plan here to make this happen would be to tax the rich to increase Social Security benefits by an extra $2,400 a year. Now, this is in the face of 87,000 armed IRS agents going out to virtually, from what we're seeing, it looks like they're coming after the middle class and lower income Americans rather than the billionaire entrepreneurs out there who, basically contribute less than many people feel that they should into the current system, especially seeing as how the current Social Security tax doesn't tax you beyond roughly $150,000 per year in earnings. Meanwhile, billionaires can earn hundreds of millions of dollars per year and virtually not really have to pay any taxes towards Social Security. Now, Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are actually making some traction on this thing. Now, before we go into the details here, I just want to ask you guys to drop a quick thumbs up for the video. I totally appreciate the support and for your daily dose of the truth when it comes to Social Security, the housing market, the stock market, SSI, SSDI, and everything that's going on in Washington, D.C. that affects our lives, our families, and our bank accounts. Definitely, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the description down below of this video. So basically, as congressional Republicans threaten to cut Social Security and other key federal programs, progressive Senator Bernie Sanders as well as Elizabeth Warren, they're leading a group of lawmakers as of last Monday in unveiling legislation that would increase Social Security benefits by at least $200 per month and ultimately be able to prolong the program's solvency for decades by ultimately finally requiring wealthy Americans to provide and actually pay their fair share. Now, I'm not here to say what's fair, what's not, but this is what they're saying. Now, the Social Security Administration Act, or I should say the Social Security Expansion Act, introduced by Senator Bernie Sanders as well as Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren in the Senate, as well as a number of other senators are behind this thing. And this would actually put an additional $2,400 per year in beneficiaries' pockets every single year and ensure that the program is fully funded through 2096. Now, if this thing actually goes through, this is a total game changer, folks. I mean, this is in light of SNAP and EBT benefits having been recently, ultimately just getting clipped for millions upon millions of Americans. And even if their SNAP benefits weren't completely cut off, it was a significant portion that is being reduced on a monthly basis. Now, this bill would accomplish this by lifting the cap on the maximum amount of income subject to Social Security payroll tax, which we talked about earlier at the beginning of this video, a change that would not raise taxes on the 93% of households that make more than $250,000 or year or less, according to an analysis conducted by the Social Security Administration at the request of Senator Bernie Sanders. Now, currently, annual earnings are above, roughly $160,000 a year. These are not subject to the Social Security payroll tax, which means millionaires and billionaires will stop contributing to the program once they exceed $160,000 a year. Now, let's just say you make $1 million a year, then basically you're only paying into the Social Security system for like maybe 1.5 months out the whole year. And the remaining 10 to 10.5 months, these millionaires and billionaires are not contributing to the system. Now, if you make $1 billion a year, you're probably only going to pay 1 day of your earnings toward Social Security benefits. So that's how really lopsided the situation is for a lot of those individuals who are depending on Social Security. And, myself, I don't rely on Social Security, but I am paying into the system. And I'll be personally pissed the heck off if Social Security benefits are not available when it's my turn to get my cut. You know what I mean? So anyway, currently the annual earnings above $160,000 per year are not subject to the Social Security payroll tax. So, that's a huge chunk. And if you look at it like this here, ultimately, if this is enacted, the bill would have raised more than $3.4 billion from the nation's top 11, just the top 11 highest paid CEOs alone in 2021, which is including a 2.9 per, excuse me, which is including a $2.9 billion from Tesla and Twitter executive Elon Musk. Now, the way that Elon Musk spends money, I don't really think that he would even mind paying a little extra money into Social Security. I mean, heck, this guy probably, gains or loses a couple $1 billion every other day just through stock market fluctuations between Twitter stock and his Tesla stock. Well, of course, Twitter is no longer a publicly traded company, but you know what I mean. Now, at a time where nearly half of older Americans have no retirement savings, we're talking about no 401k investment accounts, no Roth IRA investment accounts, traditional Roth IRAs or traditional investment accounts, traditional IRAs, 403bs. Many Americans have not even taken full advantage at all of employer matching in their 401ks. Like having a 401k and having your employer just match your minimum contributions into the plan is literally like free money. And, it's sad to think that, a lot of people just aren't even aware of some of these opportunities to make passive income off of employer contributions into a 401k plan, which is growing in many cases tax-free or at least in tax-advantaged brokerage investment accounts. So, it's really a sad state of affairs. And it goes on to say that our job to expand Social Security so that every senior in America can retire with the dignity that they deserve, and every person with a disability can live with the security that they need. Now, this comes from many senators. These senators are pushing for these changes. Now, obviously, I think, some of these senators actually care, but a lot of them, they realize that this is a tool to use to get the votes from the American people who desperately need a Social Security boost. Now, the legislation that they are looking to introduce will expand the Social Security benefits by $2,400 per year, and it will extend the solvency of Social Security for the next 75 years by making sure that the wealthiest people in the world, we're talking about the Bill Gateses of the world, we're talking about the CEO of BlackRock, the CEO of, JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon. We're looking at the wealthiest individuals, Berkshire Hathaway's, Warren Buffett. They're looking at the wealthiest individuals and trying to get them to contribute more into the Social Security system. Now, I'd love to hear from you guys. Is it fair for billionaires to not have to pay? Basically, because if you think about it, if a billionaire makes, let's just say a billionaire makes $100 million a year from their entrepreneurial investments. Maybe they've got some real estate investments. Chances are they've got loads and loads of passive income generating businesses and investments, maybe some venture capitalist income coming in. A lot of that income from all of these different sources. I mean, and especially, post pandemic, a lot of these companies, they're online businesses. They don't have the overhead that they used to because a lot of these companies, they've shut down their retail stores. I mean, we've already heard how many layoffs have come down the pipeline. Walmart laid off thousands of workers. Amazon's laid off thousands of workers. Now, some of the tech companies like Amazon, like Microsoft, like Google, Facebook, Meta, they overhired during the pandemic. And basically, once the economy opened back up, a lot of the demand that they were seeing kind of like dried up a little bit. So they kind of overhired during the boom, thinking that the boom was going to last a whole lot longer. Or some, CEOs actually predicted that this thing was here to stay. Like some people never ever saw us coming back to work, never ever saw the economy opening back up. So they invested tons and tons of capital, lots of CapEx expenses into their businesses to expand their online presence. And once the economy opened back up, they realized, hey, we don't need all these people. We're not growing we're not going to continue to grow our businesses at the rate that we were seeing it during the economic shutdown. So we have a lot of people being laid off as a result of that. But, the simple fact of the matter is that these ultra wealthy individuals, they're paying as much into the system as me and you. And, it's like, okay, if you were to make, let's just say let's just say you made $160,000 a year. And I know some people are going to say to me, Ron, there's no way in the world I would ever earn $160,000 a year. I'd have to have 5 jobs. I would need 16 different side hustles. I would need to be doing drop shipping and Amazon FBA and all these different things. But bear with me, guys, right? Let's just say hypothetically you're making $160,000 a year. That would mean that out of that $160,000 a year, only the first 100% of that income would be subject to Social Security tax. Now, so every dollar of your $160,000 a year in income would be subject to Social Security tax. But check this out. If you're a billionaire and you made $100 million that year, how much more do you think that they're going to have to pay into the system? They're going to pay the same amount making $100 million a year as a employee or even a small business owner, an entrepreneur, whatever your income source is, doesn't matter. Someone who's making $100 million a year is paying the exact same amount into Social Security as somebody who's making $160,000 a year. And so you tell me, you be the judge. Is that fair? You know, I'm not here to judge. I just want to present the fact to you guys. But this is big news. So drop me some thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Do you think that this bill will pass? Do you think we're going to get to see some traction? Or is this one of those things where they're going to kind of like push this thing down the road and just kind of keep talking about it and talk about it until, say, 2024, hype everybody up, get the votes, not come through on this thing, and then, just stop talking about it. But anyway, let me know what you guys are thinking. Hope you got some value out of this video. Drop me some comments. Consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you guys on the next one. Y'all be safe.